Hey guys, I decided I was going to make a tutorial for playtcg.me. It's a online program or website. I don't really know the difference. I guess it's a website, but that lets you play Pokemon games with other people. It's like PTCGO, but you don't need code cards. It doesn't have the animations, and you have to communicate through chat. But it's also, you can make whatever decks you like, and there's no EV-like glitches and stuff like that. So I personally prefer it. So in order to play, the first thing you need to do is make an account on Bebe Search. And it's a pretty nice website. It lets you store deck lists, so we're going to go there. I'm already logged in. You just basically give them an email and a password, and you're good to go. We'll look at an Eelzone deck that I just put together. And as you can see, you can add stuff basically by just searching for it. So let's say if we wanted to tech in Terrakion for the mirror match. I already have 60 cards in this deck, but you just start typing and it'll find it. It'll give you different options, so you could put in the Emerging Powers Terrakion if you're crazy, or you could pick between the full art or the regular. This is really nice, and then you just click add card and quantity, so we'll do it. We'll add Absol Prime just because that's the first thing. So you click add card, it load for a second, and then there's Absol. To delete, you can just click the X and then confirm. And to change numbers, you can just click the pencil, and then you can actually change the number or the actual card if you were just like one card off from what you actually wanted to use. Then you save your deck list by clicking save. You can leave notes, you can do all kinds of stuff like that. You can actually print them too, which is really nice. So for example, we could print it, it saves my preferences, and we could print, and look at that. That would be really pretty deck list that you could just put together in a minute. So that's nice, but enough about Bebe Search. It's pretty straightforward, and I think you guys can figure it out. Let's go to playtcg.me. So playtcg.me homepage looks like this. You go to play if you want to play, and again you need your Bebe Search. Normally it'll ask you to log in. I've already done so. Then there's just a little comment section. Just you can comment if you have questions or if you have suggestions. But you click continue to game to find games. And here you'll find two options. There are public battles and there are password protected battles. And then actually there's a third option, which is create a new battle. Public games, you can just click join and then you're playing a game. You can also start your own public battle. Or password protected battles are battles that people can see, but you need the password. There's actually a third option, and we'll see. I'm just going to click create a new game, and I'll start one with my Mewtwo Celebi. You can create private games where no one can see, and you have a hyperlink, and you can just send it to your opponent. Public games or password games. I'm going to create a private game just so I can start a game with myself. I'm actually not going to play. So for this, I'm just going to copy the hyperlink. I guess you can also email people, but this is pretty much the quickest way. So I'm going to open a new tab. I'm going to do that. And it asks you to join. This time I'll join with Eelzone. And so they should both go to this screen, and this will look familiar to you pretty soon. This is the setup page. Here's your message board. So that's nice. It actually gives a distinction between you and your opponent as well. Now, this menu is actually your menu. It's kind of confusing that it's above your opponent's stuff, but this is how you do different stuff. If we want to set up, we're going to go to Game and Setup, and it will draw 6 cards, and it'll put down 7 cards for your hand and 6 cards for your prizes. Now, this happens to be a perfect example of what I wanted to have happen, luckily, and that is that I mulliganed. So this is a confusing part. If you click Setup again, you would actually just draw 7 more cards into your hand and 6 more cards into your prizes, which doesn't really make much sense. Why would we want to double up 12 prizes and 14 cards in your hand? So actually, if you mulligan, you want to go to New, and it'll shuffle all the cards back into your deck. and then we go to setup again. So hopefully I won't mulligan this time. And you see I don't. So I would have a basic down. So play that basic in the active spot. Now that card goes face down, and if we look at my opponent, all they can see is that I have a face down card in the active spot. These are only flipped over after you have clicked this button here and then move the card. So even after you click this button, the card remains unflipped until you disturb it in some way. You can either just move it a little bit or click it, and then it's flipped. So that's how that works. We'll just set up for opponent's sake, just give them a hand, see what they get. So they would mulligan. So again, you'd go to new, and then you go to setup again. And once again, they mulligan. We're not really going to keep track, and we're not going to really play a game. So we'll just go with this. So at the beginning of your turn, obviously the first thing you do is you draw a card. You could actually go to deck, and you could draw a card. And this would actually, that card would then be moved there. You can rearrange your hand by doing this, arrange or compress. But and you can also draw cards just this way. There are some cards that kind of have tricky mechanics to them that you kind of have to just go by ear with. Examples are Sage's Training or Pokegear. So if I were to play a Pokegear and look at the top 7 cards in my deck, I'd want to go and just put those on one side of my hand. I'd probably want to actually, before I do that, I'd want to compress my hand so that it is very clear what is my hand and what is not my hand. So then we'd look at the top 7 cards, and if we saw Supporter, then we could take it. And we do indeed see one. Mind you, I'm not actually playing a Pokegear or anything like that. I'm just giving an example. So here we would take, we'll take the Collector because we already have the pawn in hand. So then you'd want to show that to your opponent. There's an important distinction. The area in your hand cannot be seen by your opponent. If we look here, we can see that here are the 6 cards from Pokegear. Here are the cards that were in my hand. And there is the Supporter. Cards do not become clear until they leave your hand. If they're in the discard or the bench or this kind of gray area here that's not labeled, those cards can be seen by your opponent. A couple other things on searching the deck. You can search all kinds of different stuff. You can search your deck in case you collected or something like that. Say we play that Collector, I could, go ahead and grab out my Tornadus, my Mewtwo, and a Celebi. Now it'd be important to play these cards here rather than straight into your hand, and also these cards should, probably be back in my deck just because they were there from a Pokegear. Really a hypothetical one, but whatever, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'll put them back. A good example of why you need to, I guess a good way to show why I do that is after you play a card like Pokegear, you're supposed to shuffle your deck, so you just go shuffle. Some other things that might be mechanics that you might run into, or actually, before I go into that, a nice thing about when you stuff like searching your deck is that you'd want to know if your opponent was searching their deck when they're not supposed to be. So if we look at when I'm searching my deck, click that because we're done with that. Pretty electric active, but it shows when your opponent is searching their deck. It would also show if I were to search. It doesn't say anything, however, if I search the discard. It does say, you look at your discard or your opponent's discard, but it doesn't really announce it because it's not as important. Same thing happens if you look at your prizes. So your opponent is looking at their prizes. So, you can know if your opponent is cheating. Aside from that, you can pretty much use the miscellaneous to, I guess, your chat, and then you can discard your active, which is nice. Just moves, if you have a bunch of energy attached. Um, a few other mechanics you might want to get into. Rotom's Mischievous Trick is pretty easy. You just put a new card in your prize cards. As you can see where the 7th prize is, and then you could just move one card back to the top. And then your opponent would actually see how you're moving the card specifically, so they know you'd be doing Mischievous Trick right. Of course, you'd want to announce it before you do it, but so that's playtcg.me. It's pretty simple. As long as you have someone who's friendly, games usually go pretty seamlessly. I'm sorry if this tutorial is a little rough. I just decided to make it in a single take. Really just, going into this with no kind of thought beforehand whatsoever. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped a little bit. I know that the PlayTCG people have actually made their own, but I think it's a little older. They've kind of revamped it. You see in my Google Chrome tabs it says version 2.0. It is a lot nicer looking now, and this really is a great tool, either for testing by yourself, testing with friends who live far away, or even testing with your friends who you just don't want to play with proxies, or whatever. It's a really great tool, and I really recommend you check it out. I'm going to probably be bringing you battles using this system and narrating these games. It's a lot easier to get games this way with lots and lots of good players and feature different people. Some of my friends who I don't live around. But that's pretty much it. I actually forgot something. Here in this bottom kind of corner, you have markers for all of your special conditions: burn, poison, that is paralyze, this one's confusion, this one's poison, and then sleep. You also have damage counters, which you can change by clicking the plus minus sign and just assigning 7 damage counters on Virizion, and you have your dice, which are very important. And dice and damage actually show up in the chat, which is nice. But sorry for that, just a little last thing. Anyways, really disorganized, but just trying to put something out there, trying to get more content. Hopefully you'll check this site out. It's awesome. I'm on there a lot. Maybe you'll battle me. If you think you're battling me, you can always ask Adam is Classy or Pokebro921 or whatever alias you know me by, or even Adam, because that's my name. Go figure. But alright guys, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks for watching. You've been great, and yeah, go check this out. Alright, bye.